Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Welcome back to the Stepmom Side Podcast, the podcast for stepmoms who are so tired of explaining the same thing 1,000 times over and over and over and over and over again, only to hear, well, I think you're overreacting. I'm your host, Alicia, stepmom coach, queen of overanalyzing every conversation with my husband. I used to do that a lot more than I do now. Sometimes I do it, or even, okay, listen, even all of these years in, sometimes I'm still like playing out conversations in my head, like, okay, if he says this, I'm going to say this. If he says this, I'm going to say this. And then I'm like, Alicia, get a hold of yourself. You know how these things are going to go. You guys have been together for so long. This is like how ridiculous, like how much overanalyzing I've done over the years. I could tell you my husband's breath pattern on different things, and he doesn't really sway a whole lot, so that doesn't really say much, but I could tell you almost verbatim exactly what he would say in any given situation. Like, that's how much overanalyzing I've done. Is that you? Like, if that's you, please send me a message on Instagram. I'm just at Alicia Crasco and be like, you're not crazy, girlfriend. Same here. But I'm also a firm believer that emotional labor should be a shared sport. So, okay, tell me if this sounds familiar. You try to express how something is making you feel. Maybe it's about the kids, maybe it's about the ex, maybe it's about the schedule or like the last minute changes, or the fact that you're carrying the mental load of a small village by yourself, and your partner gives you the classic blank stare. Or worse, says, I think you're reading too much into it. Or it's not that bad. Or I'm not stressed about it. You're like, cool, I'll just go scream into a pillow. I'm over here by myself, I guess. So if you've ever had that thought of how do I get him to understand where I'm coming from without sounding like I'm nagging or starting a fight, you are 100% in the right place. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast episode. Today, we're going to talk about how to get your partner to understand your perspective and know it's not just about communicating better. And it's so frustrating when people say that, like, communicate better. Okay, what the hell does that mean? So I'm going to tell you, it's more about being heard. Let's talk about the awkward truth, or let's start with the awkward truth. Your partner, they don't get it because they've never had to. That's why they feel clueless and you feel alone. They're not the stepmom. They're not a stepmom. They aren't worrying about how they're being perceived. They're not overthinking every single interaction with the kids or the ex. And they're definitely not laying awake wondering if they're being compared to someone else. Those are things that they don't even think about. So I'm going to repeat them for you in case you were already multitasking. Your partner probably feels completely clueless about all of these things, which makes you feel alone because they're not a stepmom. They're not worrying about how they're being perceived. They can just say whatever it is that they want. They can act however it is that they want. They're not overthinking every interaction with the kids or the ex. And they're definitely not lying awake at night wondering if they're being compared to someone else. You guys are living in very different emotional universes. And sometimes it feels like you're on fire and they're over there roasting marshmallows, like, nothing's wrong. Like, I really want to s'more too. No, I don't actually. So it's not just about the lack of understanding. It's more about like the emotional isolation. That's why it hurts so damn much. It's feeling like you're carrying this huge weight and your partner is just along for the ride, vibing, like it's just everything is good. It's the invalidation and it's the subtle message. This isn't a big deal. This isn't a big deal, Alicia. Like, what is your deal? Like, no one else. I don't know how many times my husband has said to me over the years, he doesn't say this anymore, but he would say, no one else is complaining about anything. It's only you. I'm like, yeah, because everyone else thinks that this shit is totally normal. And I'm the one that's like, absolutely not. We are not doing these things. So this is crazy. This is dysfunctional. Like, this is not good. And I'm the only one that sees it. And he's like, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, it's not broke, so why are we fixing it? It is broke. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not broken, but it could be run better. It could be more efficient. It could be more streamlined. Like that is definitely like my thought process. Like, let's streamline this. Let's make it like as efficient as possible. Like, let's just handle whatever it is that comes up. And I remember trying to explain to him why I was feeling anxious about like an upcoming weekend with the kids. And this sounds crazy, but unless you're a stepmom, like you absolutely get it. I just don't feel emotionally available, emotionally safe in my own home when things are so unpredictable. I don't know like what attitude I'm getting, what mood they're showing up in, who they've been around recently, extended family, like things. I don't know what's going to happen. And so it makes me feel really freaking anxious. Are you nodding along to this? Please tell me you are. And he goes, there's been kids. They've had bad days too. Like, why do you take it so personally? Well, let's just say that the air got really cold in that room. It was literally like, you didn't even hear what I said. Do you have any idea what's going on? Luckily, those conversations don't happen anymore. But here's the mindset shift that changed everything for me and the stepmoms I coach. You don't need your partner to agree with you. You need them to acknowledge you. Okay? You don't need your partner to agree with you. You need them to acknowledge you. We think we are arguing over solutions, but what we really want is, I hear you. That makes sense. I didn't realize it felt that heavy. Thank you so much for telling me. And that starts the shifting of how you guys open up the conversation and like move forward. So let me just dive in a little bit deeper to them. You don't need them to agree with you, even though initially you might be like, yeah, actually, I do want them to agree with me because my way is so much better. Hi, I'm Alicia. I can totally relate to that. But you need them to acknowledge you, right? So let's say that you have kids of your own, or let's say it's even a friend. Let's go with a friend, and your friend is like, hey, let's go out for dinner tonight. And you're like, nope, I can't. And you say nothing else, or they really want something and you're like, no, that's dumb, I'm not doing that. And rather than being like, oh yeah, I can totally understand why you would want insert whatever, it doesn't work for me right now because of this, right? Like, I can absolutely understand why you want that, or thank you for telling me that you want that. Right now I can't do it. If you've got kids of your own, let's say they want to go to a park and you're like, nope, we're not going to a park. Awesome, you just shut them down rather than be like, hey, you know what, thank you so much for telling me that you want to go to the park. Let me see if we can work it into the schedule later, or it's not going to work to go later. And I try to be very, very mindful of, if my daughter asks for something, to not say maybe when I know that maybe actually means no. I try to be very honest because my mom did that to us growing up and I hated it. Like, became conditionally trained to just know. If she said maybe, that meant like we're not going anywhere. We're not doing that. Like, that's just dumb. So just acknowledging is what you want, to just be seen, to be heard. So let's talk scripts, because tone and timing are everything. And I've talked a lot about this on the podcast. So here are things I'm going to give you. So, like, get your notes ready. Or if you're driving, like, make sure that you come back and listen to this part of the podcast. So what you're going to do is you're going to say these things. I don't need you to fix this. I just want you to understand what it's like for me. So you're letting them off the hook. I don't need you to fix this. I just want you to understand my perspective, rather than being like, you doing this, all of the things. I'm going to give you some things to like not say. Or when X happens, I feel Y. When X happens, I feel Y. I know you might see it differently, but I want to share what it feels like in my shoes. When you agree to last minute schedule changes, I feel uneasy, or I feel uncertain, or I feel pissed because it feels like you aren't taking our life into consideration, or our plans into consideration. I know you might see it differently, but I want to share that this is what it feels like in my shoes, or insert whatever it is. When X happens, I feel Y. I know you might see it differently, but I want to share what it feels like in my shoes. I'm not blaming you. This is the third one. I'm not blaming you. I just want us to be a team, and I need you to understand this part of my experience. And this could be about feeling like the outsider, feeling like you're never going to measure up, feeling like you live in the shadow of the ex, feeling like this house is never going to be yours, all of the things. What we're not going to say is, you never back me up. Why don't you ever get it? You always side with them. I guess I'll just have to handle everything myself, right? Do you hear how differently those sound? And again, no shame. We've all said those things. Me too. They just don't work. So when you've said it gently, clearly, and repeatedly, and your partner's still not getting it, you have three options. Number one, ask for feedback. Is there something about the way I'm bringing this up that makes it hard to hear? Everyone's communication style is different. Maybe they don't do very well face to face. Maybe texting them would be easier. Maybe emailing them would be better. Maybe having a phone conversation, like while you guys are out running errands and you're separated, that might be better. I do caution you on like the texting and the emailing because things, as you know, can be misconstrued. But here is something that we did because I 100% like gonna own this. Am the hothead in our relationship. My husband has like ice water through his veins, like nothing really rattles him. I'm a lot more like that now, but early on, woo, look at me sideways, bam, head's gone like anger on inside out. Definitely the hothead. And I I really struggled to have in-person conversations because honestly, I would just blow up like immediately. Like if I wasn't getting my way, right? Like I was in the mindset of like, he needs to agree with every single thing that I say, right? Because my way is so much better. Obviously, he's an idiot and like can't do anything right. No, 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 no. It's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we need some validation. So you can just say, is there something about the way I'm bringing this up that makes it hard to hear? That makes it so much easier. I couldn't do that early on, like I said. So we did emails, like novel emails, and then it got to the point where I could just digest those emails and get my thoughts together. And then we could slowly, progressively, like we move towards having conversations in person. This opens the door to a deeper conversation about how you're communicating, not just what you're saying. Number two, use real life examples. Instead of vague frustrations, say, remember last weekend when you said X, Y, and Z in front of the kids? That made me feel unsupported. Remember last weekend when you said whatever it is? That made me feel unsupported. Or remember last weekend when you let the kids, stay up past their bedtime? That made me feel unsupported because we worked really hard to get these house expectations set in place. So real moments are so much better than generalized statements because it pinpoints a certain thing. And I'm going to give this is like an elite level like operating system here. I'm going to give you a tip. Create a notes like in your phone if you got an iPhone or like you can write like out a list by yourself like pen to paper, but keep a list of like, this sounds so crazy, but keep a list of like examples so that in that way, when these conversations come up, you're not like, I had ideas, but now I don't know what they are because I totally blanked out. That's something that would happen to me because I would be so mad. I like literally would just see red. Number three, bring in a third party. Sometimes it takes another voice to break through. It could be a coach. Hey, girl, like that's me, a therapist, or even a podcast episode for you to listen together. This one also might help you. If your partner hears your experience through someone else's lens, it hits different, or it can hit different, right? Because they're too close to the situation. If you're saying it, sometimes it sounds like the same shit, just a different day. The same story, just a different day, right? Like, want, 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 want. You're like Charlie Brown's teacher. Want, 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 want. So, three tips if your partner still isn't getting it, like you've said things gently, clearly, repeatedly, without anger, all of the things. Ask for feedback, use real life examples, and bring in a third party. Like, that is so helpful. But really, here's the thing. I want you to know that this is not something that's uncommon. If you're feeling unseen, unheard, unsupported, you're not alone. You're not being too much. You're asking for basic emotional safety, and you deserve that. If you want a space where you can practice these conversations and feel supported in real time, like I said, practice them before you go and implement them. Come join us inside the Stepmom Side community. But if you need help crafting exactly what you want to say or navigating a bigger conversation breakdown, like literally, like we can just role play, that is my jam. Like, let's talk one to one. and get some coaching. And if you're screaming, yes, in your kitchen or in your car right now, please share this with another stepmom who's tired of being told that she's just too sensitive or too much or her expectations are too high. You're not, she's not. You're just not being heard. And that, my friend, that ends today. I will chat with you next week. Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Crosco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.